Hello everyone, have you ever felt stuck? Like your life is on autopilot? I did. I was overwhelmed, constantly reacting to things and never feeling like I was in control. Then one day, I made a decision. For just 1 week, I would try 5 simple habits, not huge life changes, just small shifts. I didn't expect much, but after 7 days, something incredible happened. I felt clearer, calmer, and more focused than I had in months. Today, I want to share with you the 5 habits that changed my life in just 1 week, and how they might just change yours too. Habit 1. Morning clarity. Waking up with purpose. I started waking up just 30 minutes earlier, not to grind or work, but to simply be intentional. No phone, no scrolling, just me, a notebook, and a quiet moment to ask, what do I want from today? That one question set the tone. I wasn't rushing, I wasn't reacting, I was deciding. Habit 2. 10-minute movement. Activate your energy. I didn't join a gym or do an intense workout. I just committed to 10 minutes of movement in the morning, stretching, walking, breathing deeply. That small bit of motion started my energy. I went from sluggish to alert without needing coffee. It reminded me, momentum begins with a single step. Habit 3. Digital boundaries. Reclaiming focus. This one was hard. No social media or email for the first and last hour of the day. But wow, what a difference. My mind felt quieter. I wasn't absorbing everyone else's noise before I even had a chance to think my own thoughts. Instead of being pulled in all directions, I found myself being more present, with my work, with others, and with myself. Habit 4. Daily brain dump. Clearing mental clutter every night. I took 5 minutes to write down everything on my mind. Tasks, worries, random thoughts. I didn't organize it, I just let it out. The result. I slept better, my mind felt lighter. There's something powerful about giving your thoughts a place to land that isn't inside your head. Habit 5. One intentional win. End with impact. Each day, I chose one task that really mattered. Just one. I made it my non-negotiable. Finishing that one thing gave me a sense of progress and control. It didn't matter if the rest of the day went sideways. I had one meaningful win, and that built real momentum. Now, did these habits solve every problem in my life? No, but they gave me something even more valuable: clarity, direction, and momentum. And the best part, you don't need a new year, a new job, or a perfect plan. You just need 1 week, 5 small habits, and a little curiosity to see what happens. Try it. Give yourself 7 days. You might just surprise yourself, like I did. When people ask me what the most life-changing habit was that week, I always say, it started with how I woke up. Not just the time, but how I entered my day. Before I made any other changes, I committed to waking up 30 minutes earlier than usual. Now, this wasn't about discipline or grinding harder. It was about reclaiming the first moments of my day before the world had a chance to interrupt. There's something powerful about the quiet right after waking. Your brain is in a highly impressionable state. It's not fully alert, but it's not asleep either. And in that delicate window, what you choose to focus on can ripple through your entire day. I didn't pick up my phone. I didn't check messages. I sat by a window, just breathing, letting in some natural light, and letting my thoughts catch up to me. That light, that calm, it's not just poetic. It triggers real changes in your nervous system, signaling the brain that it's time to be awake, alert, and stable. This moment became a kind of ritual, not a productivity hack, but a foundation. I wasn't trying to get ahead. I was trying to get clear. And in that space, I found something I hadn't felt in a while: calm control. Before the emails, before the meetings, before the pressure, I had already connected with myself. I'd already decided how I wanted to feel. Over time, actually, very quickly, this started to shape the rest of my day. I was more focused. I wasn't scrambling or catching up. And interestingly, I didn't just feel better mentally. I felt more grounded physically. It's as if the chaos got paused long enough for me to remember that I have a say in how my day begins. And here's the truth. Most people give their mornings away. They hand that precious space over to stress, notifications, and noise. But that first half hour, it's one of the few times you can set the tone rather than react to it. So I protected it, and once I did, everything else I tried that week had a place to stand on. That was the moment I realized, change doesn't have to start with doing more. Sometimes, it starts with doing less, but doing it on purpose. The next shift I made was incredibly simple, almost too simple to seem meaningful. I committed to just 10 minutes of movement every morning. That's it. No gym membership, no heavy lifting, no marathon training. Just 10 focused minutes of getting my body to move. Walking, stretching, some light mobility work. Nothing fancy, but the impact. Immediate. We often separate our mind from our body, especially when we're thinking about clarity or productivity, but your brain doesn't float around in a vacuum. It's part of a physical system. And movement, even the smallest kind, is one of the fastest, most reliable ways to activate that system. You're not just getting blood flowing, you're changing your chemistry. You're sending a signal to your entire nervous system that says, we're awake, we're alive, we're ready. I wasn't doing this for fitness, and honestly, I didn't even break a sweat most mornings. What I noticed, though, was that my energy and mood shifted almost immediately afterward. I felt less foggy, more alert. And it wasn't a caffeine high or a temporary rush. It was a grounded kind of energy, the kind that carries you through the first part of your day without feeling like you're dragging yourself forward. This daily movement also created something else, momentum. And momentum, psychologically, is powerful. When you start your day with action, especially intentional action, your brain tracks that as a small win. And that win becomes the reference point for the next choice you make. You've already done one thing that aligned with how you want to feel. Now you're more likely to do another, and another. It's a cascade effect. 10 minutes of movement in the morning isn't about burning calories. It's about setting your system up to operate at its best. It's about interrupting stillness with purpose and that little disruption. It creates direction that over time adds up to a different day and eventually a different life. People often wait until they have the time to exercise, but what I learned in just 1 week is that it's not about time. It's about signaling. It's about saying to your body and brain, we're not waiting for the day to happen to us, we're stepping into it, on purpose. Another shift I made that week was subtle but powerful, and honestly, it changed the way my entire day felt. I decided to set clear digital boundaries. Specifically, I didn't allow myself to look at my phone. No texts, no emails, no social media. For the first and last hour of my day. That might sound small, but the effect was massive. Here's what happens when you check your phone first thing in the morning. Your brain immediately gets pulled into a reactive state. Before you've even fully woken up, you're already processing other people's thoughts, opinions, problems, demands. Your attention, arguably your most valuable resource, is hijacked before you even get a chance to use it on your own life. I didn't realize how often I was doing this until I stopped. And once I stopped, something interesting happened. I started to feel like I had more time. It wasn't that my schedule changed. It was that my brain wasn't overloaded right out of the gate. I was giving myself space to think clearly before letting the world in. That buffer made me more focused, less anxious, and far more intentional about how I moved through the morning. The same thing applied at night. When I stopped scrolling before bed, I slept better. My mind was quieter. I didn't fall asleep with other people's chaos in my head. And the quality of my sleep improved. Not because I added more hours, but because I removed stimulation that kept my nervous system on alert. These devices we use, phones, laptops, apps, they're tools. But when we let them set the tone for our day, we turn ourselves into tools for them. That shift in control affects everything: your mood, your focus, your stress levels, your ability to be present with people you care about. By protecting just the first and last hour of the day from digital input, I created a mental space that let me reset. And from that space, I was able to act, not just react. My thoughts became clearer. My attention wasn't fractured. I wasn't jumping from alert to alert. I was deciding where my energy went. And when you start deciding that, even in small ways, you begin to feel the return of something we all need more of: mental sovereignty. One of the most surprisingly effective habits I added that week was also the simplest. Every evening, I sat down with a notebook, nothing fancy, just a blank page, and I did what I call a brain dump. I wrote down whatever was on my mind. No structure, no judgment, No effort to make it meaningful, just a release. It's incredible how much mental weight we carry without realizing it. Thoughts swirl around in the background. Unfinished tasks, random ideas, anxieties, conversations we replay, decisions we haven't made yet. And when those thoughts don't have a place to go, they loop. You may not notice it consciously, but that background noise drains you. It affects your focus, your mood, and especially your sleep. So I tried this for 1 week. Just 5 to 10 minutes each night. I would write down anything that was cluttering my mind. Sometimes it was a to-do list. Sometimes it was worries. Sometimes it was just phrases or ideas that had been stuck in my head. The point wasn't to solve anything. It was simply to externalize what was internal, and what happened next was really interesting. After just a few nights, I started falling asleep faster. My brain wasn't spinning as much. I wasn't lying in bed replaying the day or mentally rehearsing tomorrow. There was less noise, I felt lighter, but it didn't just help with sleep. The next morning, I found that I had more clarity. By getting thoughts out of my head and onto paper, I could actually see what mattered and what didn't. Some of the things that had felt urgent were clearly just background static. Other thoughts sparked ideas I could build on, but most importantly, I wasn't carrying it all around with me anymore. We don't often realize that the brain isn't designed to store, it's designed to process. When we try to keep everything in our heads, we overload that system. But when we write it down, we free up space for focus, creativity, and calm. It's like cleaning your desk before you start working. Except the desk is your mind. This small nightly habit gave me something I hadn't expected, a quieter internal world and a better night's sleep, simply because I stopped asking my mind to hold everything at once. The last habit I added that week was deceptively simple, but it created a powerful shift in how I move through each day. I started choosing just one intentional win, one task, one goal, one thing that, if I finished it, I could look back and say that mattered. Not a long list of to-dos, not 10 half-finished errands, just one thing that truly moved the needle. Now, the key here is that it had to be meaningful. It wasn't about checking off the easiest task or doing something just to stay busy. It had to be something that aligned with where I wanted to go or how I wanted to feel. Some days, that win was writing a page of content. Other days, it was having a difficult but necessary conversation. Sometimes it was just cleaning out the inbox that had been draining me mentally. The content didn't matter as much as the intention behind it. The interesting thing is, when you define a win clearly and early in your day, your brain has something to anchor to. It's a form of clarity. You're not wondering, did I do enough today? Or why do I still feel behind? You know exactly what success looks like, and you know when you've reached it. That clarity reduces friction. It also builds confidence, because when you follow through on something you told yourself mattered, even if it's just one thing, you prove to yourself that you're moving forward. That sense of forward motion is incredibly regulating to the nervous system. It quiets the noise, it gives you traction, and it makes the rest of the day easier because you're no longer chasing 10 different directions. You're leading in one. By the end of the week, I realized that stacking small wins like this creates a kind of rhythm. Each win adds a brick, and when you're consistent with it, those bricks start forming a path. It's not overwhelming, it's not dramatic, but it's sustainable, and more importantly, it's yours. You don't need to conquer your whole life in a day. You just need one solid win, and the willingness to show up for it. There's one more shift I made that week, not a habit in the traditional sense, but more of a mindset adjustment that tied everything together. I started asking myself a simple question at the end of each day. How did I show up? Not how much did I do, not whether everything went according to plan, just how did I show up for myself, for the people around me, and for the life I say I want to live? That reflection created a feedback loop. It wasn't about guilt or grading myself. It was about awareness. I began to notice patterns. Days when I was grounded, I had moved my body. Days when I was scattered, I'd usually started the morning with my phone. Days when I felt proud, I had honored my one intentional win. That nightly check-in helped me connect action to outcome and clarity to behavior. It made all the other habits stick because it gave them meaning. But it also revealed something important. Progress doesn't always show up in the mirror or on a scoreboard. Sometimes it's internal. It's in the fact that you didn't snap at someone when you normally would have. It's in the way you paused before reacting. It's how you handle discomfort without numbing out or running away. These shifts are subtle, but they matter. And over time, that awareness turned into a kind of self-leadership. I wasn't waiting for life to calm down before I felt better. I was creating structure inside the chaos. I was making choices from a place of alignment, not reaction, and that gave me something far more valuable than motivation. It gave me consistency. The truth is, most people don't lack the capacity to change. They lack the clarity to know where to start and the presence to notice when it's working. By taking just a few minutes to reflect each night, I built that presence. I stopped chasing perfection and started tracking alignment. And when you live in alignment, even for 1 week, you remember what it feels like to trust yourself again.